hello there. I hope you can hear me fine. Welcome to today's deep dive with Valtech and their award-winning project, BMG Production Music Web Application. If you join us on Zoom, please mute your cameras and mics and join the Q&A after the presentation. And if you're on LinkedIn Live, then just post your questions into the chat and we'll be bringing them into the Q&A session after the presentation. My name is Akko Rudolf. I am Director of the UX Design Awards and Head of Strategy at International Design Center Berlin, in short IDZ. We are the awards organizer. We are a leading independent design organization with more than 50 years of expertise. And our mission is actually to promote good design as a driver of innovation in business and society. And this is where we founded the UX Design Awards in 2015. Our goal is to promote the positive impact of people-centered design on our daily lives and to recognize the people and the UX talent worldwide. And actually, our call for entries to the next award season is open until the end of November. So if you're working on great experience projects, then make it count and take part. Have a look at our website for more. But now, welcome to our virtual event series. We feature designers and teams that are distinguished in the awards, invite them to present the work and to share knowledge with our professional community. You can join us about twice a month for deep dives with professionals and companies and talent tracks with up-and-coming UX designers. For more, stay tuned on LinkedIn, social media, or subscribe to our newsletter. But now, let me introduce today's product award winners. The BMG Production Music Web Application. It's a music library and a customer portal for filmmakers with more than 300,000 tracks. It features a sophisticated search that helps filmmakers to find the right tracks. And it actually unites several regional sites in one big digital platform with a focus on ease of use and a holistic experience. And the jury actually handed this award because they were particularly impressed about the coherent focus on the needs of a very specific target group that the team showed. They applied agile development and continuous user testing for a service that is very user-friendly and helps to finish your tasks in a very efficient way. It's my pleasure to introduce the two core team members from Valtech who are working on this solution. Stefan, Sacherer, he is the creative director, experience design. He's a designer, art director, and creative director. He's been working on in design consultancies across Europe and has been with Valtech in Germany for more than 9 years. And with him today is Kilian. He is the UX design consultant on this project. He's been with Valtech for 3 years. He's been working as a designer, UX designer, and a consultant with Valtech ever since. So with this short introduction, I'd like to welcome both of you, Stefan and Kilian. Great to have you here today. And please take it away from here. The screen is yours.
Thank you, Arke. So, yeah, thank you for the warm welcome. Let me just bring notes. So, yeah, as Arke said, today we want to give you an introduction and a deep dive in our project BMG Production Music. So my name is Stefan Sacherer and I'm together here with Kilian, UX designer consultant, and he was design lead and in charge of that awesome project. And we are both working for Valtech in Cologne, Germany. So for those who don't know Valtech yet, Valtech is a digital agency with 45 offices operating in 18 countries. And we have about 3,000 employees. And in Germany, we are located in the offices in Cologne, Düsseldorf, and Munich.
And Hamburg.
And Hamburg, yeah,
yep.
Brand new. And our goal is to create a unique and personal experiences that improve human lives and, of course, make our clients' business grow. And that we try to improve humans' life was hopefully one of the main reasons that our solution was honored by the UX award in the category product. So what we are going to do today is give you a small insight on the design process. Things went well, also things we failed, we thought. And yeah, we can dive in the presentation.
So you should be able to see the screen now.
Okay,
Cool.
So in 2019, we were asked by BMG, which stands for Bertelsmann Music Group, to take part in a pitch to relaunch their music platform, BMG Production Music. And production music provides stock music for movies, trailers, radio shows, advertising, and games. So for all the filmmakers who are searching specific music for their project, and they have a very strong catalog with over 300,000 individual tracks, reaching from classical to contemporary music, and of course everything in between, from a lot of music labels. They call themselves the hidden hit makers, so that's actually their claim, and meaning that BMG music, BMG production music provides music that you hear everywhere, but you've probably never heard of them before. So what you basically do when you go and work with this application, you are searching the catalog for the perfect track for your project, which hasn't been easy so far, because they had a lot of problems. BMG is one global player with one database in music. Of course, they have a universal catalog, but they were using three different platforms from three different providers with three different data banks and three different white label solution, you can say, which they did not own themselves. So it was very heavy and cost intensive maintenance at that time. And there was no way to work globally across those platforms. So the solutions or the main target, the main goal was to have only one global platform with one database, so one single source of truth, and to put this into one universal catalog with all the user management and everything else. And for that solution, we had some headless approach that we were as flexible and independent as possible. So using a lot of different APIs from third-party developers integrated in that application. So maybe if the future providers change or something happens, we can easily and flexible just replace this API. So one other goal was the redesign of one seamless global brand experience, because you could imagine that working with three different white label solutions doesn't represent the brand itself, and you had three different platforms which look totally different. And of course, they were looking for great UX, so in terms of speed and performance, usability, because we learned that users spend sometimes hours and hours in that app searching for the perfect track. So of course we needed a powerful search because search was key in that project. Maybe some words on the user group, because in this case the user group was special. We had on the one hand external users. They were searching for music in their own skill set and usage. Yeah, we had some power users yeah, so to say, and we had some, let's call them freelancers, which doesn't spend that much time. And the BMG also have internal staff which provided the search for their users. So clients which were using the application very much, they made use of the some client, some of the BMG production music staff, which who searched the tracks for them. So in this case, the client was actually also a user, in this case, the power user. And of course, we had to build this application that you would like to spend a lot of time in this app.
Okay, so we have this crazy user group here and had to create a solution for actually all of them. The power users spend 8 hours a day searching music, and some people just came there for once a month to find a track there. And then we actually started the project in a very global setup, because BMG is all around the world. And the idea was to replace all the platforms, all the 3 platforms which were used in different regions, to support the teams working there. So BMG has an office in United Kingdom, France, Germany, but also in Australia and in the United States. And we actually started with the Australia application because it has the smallest feature set, and was just great to start there. And our team setup was we were working on a dual track, which I explain in a second, with the development team, with a tech lead slash scrum master, with 2 front-end developers and a backend developer. And then on the design stream, we were working with a prototyper, which is a full stack developer, with 2 designers. So we were actually doing UX and design both. And then we also had a person which supported us on the user testings. We were working on the dual track, which is in the end 2 streams working in parallel. Sounds a little bit like 2 silos, but it's actually not. We were communicating a lot, and the idea is in the end that the design track can work on the tickets for the next sprints for the developers, but also has the freedom and time to explore some routes and do some iterations there. And also allowed us to work in different sprint systems. So the developers were working in 2-week sprints with Scrum, and the design track was working at the beginning in 1-week sprints, and we actually did weekly user testing. So every Friday we had a testing, and we also did a code prototype. What that is, wait a second. The code prototype is actually something we already did in the pitch, and I think we did a great impression with that code prototype. And that's basically the application really quickly coded, and also connected to a track data bank, so we could do searches and get results and could listen those results there. But the focus was not on security or responsiveness or something. It was just bring the vision of the designers as quickly as possible in working code. We could then share in user testings and also work with, and also show our client here. It's of course not perfect, so all the search results were completely random. So you searched for a rock track and actually got pop or Christmas songs. But it actually didn't matter. We had our prototype we could use for testing, which was just perfect there. So, and then the design sprints looked something like this here. So on Monday, we decided, okay, what will we do in this week? And then we had basically 4 days of uninterrupted discovery, designing, and also in parallel developing that code prototype. So we were all sitting in one room. That was before Corona. and chatted all the time, directly put our ideas into code, and then the support person in this time just contacted a lot of people. And on Friday, we could then invite those people in a Teams meeting and do a user test there. And everything we designed, we tested at the beginning, which was really, really great. And then on Monday, we just took all the insights we gathered there and all the learnings, presented that really quickly to the client, and then decided together, okay, what will we do in this week?
And we had a lot of freedom in that,
Yep.
the beginning of that phase, of course.
Yeah.
That was awesome. Yeah.
And it's also really cool because we had the full stack developer who did the code prototype in the team, and we could all the time validate our ideas, whether they are easy to build or possible at all, which also was a really, really big advantage. So, and here is an example of one of those weeks here. It was the second week here on our rapid prototyping cycle. We focused on the search entry, and here we had our recap and planning, and on Friday we had the user testing. So, and this is how it actually looked. Two laptops, two people in one room. We invited people mostly via Teams, and then someone took notes, and we also created those personas here. And we also worked a lot with proto-personas, which is in the end personas which were not based on data, but on ideas. But then we took those insights from all the user testings and the interviews we did, and then validated those personas. This was also a really, really fast way of working. And we also did not so much of documentation. We just took photos of all the post-its. That was also the presentation to the client on Monday. And this was also a really fast way of working. So we gathered a lot of insights inside the team. And how this turned out, you can see on the next screen here, because this is what the application looked at the beginning. So we had some text here at the top. We thought about having a view similar to Spotify with the albums, artists, and then you have the tracks here. And after a couple rounds of testing, we learned some more here, and we thought about, okay, let's have some filters here and put everything into tabs. And the layout already changed a little bit. We still had the text here at the top, but then we also learned, okay, people are really confused with those tags here because it's hard when you have a word like acoustic guitar, which is basically two words, and then you have two tags, but you want to have as a single tag, and this was one of the challenges we had. This is why we kicked the tags out, and also here the length and tempo filter changed a little bit. The tags out, here the length and I have an echo. Okay. Yeah, and I think this is just a really, really great way here. You see what an impact user testing can have, because this is the application today. And when you compare that to the first round, it's actually completely different. And I can really recommend doing that. And the cool thing is, when you do that in the design sprints, then you just have the freedom there to explore and discover without harming the development stream, so they don't need to do work twice. So one problem we faced along the way is that we, at the very beginning, we worked really incrementally. So we really focused on building the search and improved the search and did a lot of testings on the search. And then the idea was to work on the playlist, and then after that on the licensing. But the problem was that we couldn't showcase or build the whole end-to-end journey. And our process seemed also slow because we spent so much time on the search and haven't started anything else yet. And then we decided to switch to a more iterative process here. I think this is just a great image here I found on the internet. that explains that, because when an artist works on an artwork, they just don't paint the eyes perfectly first and then switch to the hands and so on. What they do is they do a sketch first to get an impression and then increase that. And this is also what we did then on the application. We actually built a lot of basic features, but on the whole user journey. And then over time added more and more features and went to that look and feel we are today now. And the method we use there is user story mapping. For those who don't know that yet, it's a really cool technique, because you just go there and write down the narrative flow of the users, what they do on your product, and then add a lot of user stories below. And then you think about, okay, what is actually, of all of those user stories, what is really necessary to get that product running and working? So not in the most beautiful and perfect way, but just running. And then you just draw a slice, and then you start working on those tickets above the slice, and everything else below is your backlog.
And we had a huge backlog, so to say.
Yep. We did that with the whole application. So this is the real-life example of our user story map. You see we have our flow here, and here are a lot of slices for all the different sprints. We use that also for communication and discussion. We also uploaded our layouts here, sometimes only hand-drawn sketches, just to have a foundation for discussion. But as you can probably already think, this did not work out in the end over a long time, because it was really hard to keep everything synchronized. But I would still say that this is a big achievement we did here, because what it helped was that the whole team was working on that and got into that mindset of that iterative process, and slowly adding more and more features along the whole journey. When we came closer to our beta site and our launch, what we did was we had the current site, which where people were working on, the internal BMG staff and also all the external clients of BMG. And then we also published our beta site. And the cool thing was they had a shared database. And this actually allowed mostly the BMG staff to go to the beta site, work there until they hit a problem or a missing feature, which we haven't developed yet. And then they could switch back to the current site and had all their progress, and all their work was synchronized. And this was super helpful.
Yeah, because they could use our features of the search, the new improved features, and just have them in their playlist and in their projects.
So, and to get more people on that beta side, what we did was we had all these BMG staff people. And we contacted them and invited them to the beta site, and we also sent them emails every week with the task of the week, and it was basically a list of 4 to 5 tasks they should do on the website, and then we included Hotjar as a feedback tool here. And then they could just report bugs or submit ideas, praise something directly on the website. And also could then here at the very bottom, they could answer a survey. So every week we did a survey based on the tasks of the week. And then they could directly give feedback to those tasks we had sent them before. And this was also a really great way to get feedback from real users. And then we also just took those feedbacks there and put them into small slides and just sent them out to the team, also to the developers, so they could also see what impact they were producing, and how they actually helped the search teams to just find the tracks faster. So, and now we would like to switch to the actual product to show you some features we have built there and why we've built them. So for those who haven't seen it yet, this is our product. It's public, so you can just go to bmgproductionmusic.com and access it, and also play around a little bit if you want. What we basically did here, we have 5 big sections here, which is the Discover section, where you can just explore some music or find some categories. So here are a lot of collections of playlists and albums. You can discover the labels. The new releases are also there, and this is basically all about discovering here. Then you have the search area, where you can just search for music. We'll show that in detail later. We also have a sound design search. So this search is just for music, so real tracks where people are singing and instruments are playing. But this is more focused on sound effects and just some hits or smashes. And there's actually also a big library of just boom sounds, for example. So it's a little bit different than the normal music search. This is why we separated that here. Then we have the playlist area, where all your playlists are. You just collect the music along the way, and later on just decide most of the time with the team or with the client what is the perfect track for the video or for the show. And some people actually have a lot of playlists, so multiple hundreds of playlists. Also the internal people, and cause some trouble sometimes because of performance issues, because I think one person has 900 playlists.
So we had to find solutions, a responsive solution for that application in vertical space, but in horizontal space as well. So yeah, you could use this application in full screen, but also on a small size.
Yeah, exactly. So there are also some possibilities to collapse the sidebar, and we also decided for a sidebar so you can see more tracks in a vertical way and not have a top bar here.
There's also one reason, because you spend most of the time in one area.
Yes.
Yeah, and you don't switch around in other categories or menus. That's why.
Okay, and just to give you an example of how a typical use case looks like, let's pretend we get a client brief and they want to do a Christmas advertising spot, and they just need some music for that. And what we can do then is we can go to the Discover area, and here go to the collections, because there's a Christmas collection. And when we open that, we see here we have playlists and albums. And there are just collections of handpicked music. So people from BMG actually went to the search and created those playlists here, and everyone can use them. They also update them from time to time. And then we could just go inside a playlist. We could just listen to some tracks. So, and then we can start collecting tracks here. So we can add them to the Christmas ad playlist. And what we can also do, of course, is go to the search page and search for example, bells. And then we get a bunch of tracks with bells or bells in the title. All of the tracks are tagged with a lot of keywords. And there was also another company involved who did AI tagging for the whole catalog. They took all the 300,000 tracks, re-tagged the whole catalog, put all the genres on, the length, the instruments, whether there are vocals or not. So you could say, for example, we want only tracks with vocals, and the minimum length is, for example, 120. And as you can see, the search results update instantly. So you just do something here. you can also just add more keywords here at the top. And
the suggestions, they also change. Maybe you recognize that, but with typing the bells, the keyword suggestions had everything to do with Christmas.
Yes. So you can see here, I typed in bells, and here we have a bar of different words, because we learned along the way that people sometimes have problems to find the right words to type in. And then we thought, okay, it would be cool to just show here some other words that match. And for example, for bells, a matching word is Christmas. When we select Christmas, then you see the whole bar here updated, because now we get suggestion based on bells and Christmas. For example, we can add family as well, and then the search results update again. That's really cool. Another feature here is the lyric search. So when you want to find a track which has a certain word in it, so for example, home, you can just type that in and then get some tracks here which have home in the lyrics. So you'll stay. I'll spend every day working until. There was a track, I thought it was this one with home directly here, but it was a different one. But here we can also just go to the track details and see the lyrics tab, and then here we can see, okay, home is down there, it's also highlighted. And then we can also add this track to a playlist. Okay, another really cool feature is the so-called music matcher. So we also learned along the way that people a lot of times come to BMG and say, hey, I have this really cool track, I want something similar. And therefore it's this feature, the music matcher. And we can just paste the YouTube link there. Okay, we cannot identify the reference on this link. But what you can basically do is you paste in a YouTube link, and then you get matching results. And that's also something you can do on every single track. So for example, if we like this track here, we can just click here on the similar search button. And then we get matching tracks here, which sound really similar to the track we have clicked before. And we also see here which part of the track is matching the most with the reference above here. So we now collected some tracks here, and you can see they all have been added to our Christmas playlist here. And this is more or less the basic workflow of people using the site. So you start maybe at the Discover page, then go to the search, type in some keywords, and then collect your tracks in a playlist. But as we also mentioned, the user group is really diverse, and we have this really professional users searching 8 hours a day on the website, and they have different needs. So, for example, they maybe do a client brief for a client in Australia, and as this music here is needs to be licensed, not all tracks are available in every region, and therefore you can here go to the access profile and say, for example, I only want to see tracks which are available in Australia. And when we then go to the search page, we see here only the results of Australia. So another feature we have added, because we learned that people are sometimes working on a show which has multiple seasons. So for example, here we have the clock is ticking, season 1. But when we are working on the clock is ticking season 2, then we want to avoid the tracks from season 1, because we don't want to have the same tracks in the following season. What we can do then here is, for example, we can flag this playlist. And then you see all the tracks in this playlist are getting highlighted with a flag here. And when we then go to the search and type in, for example, competition, urgent, and bold.
There's disco.
Disco is still there. Then we see here, okay, this track is already in the season 1 playlist, and I can just skip them. I don't have to listen to that track and maybe add it twice and then remove it later. What is also possible is we can add a detail overlay for each track and album, where we can also get all the licensing information and also can see all the keywords which have been used for the track. Which composers were working on that track, the publishers, release date, track description. And we can also see the label. So in this case, it's Deep East Music. And all the labels have different styles. And sometimes people working along on that site know all the labels. And they know, okay, for this brief, client brief, this label is perfect. Then you can also go to the advanced search here and add a label filter here. And for example, then you can just search for the label you want, Deep East Music, and update the search results. And for competition, urgent, bold, from the label Deep East Music, there are 2 tracks. And then you can just add more tracks from that label you like. You also see here, maybe at the top, I will zoom in a little bit, that the label was added in some kind of a code snippet style.
Yeah.
So it's called label : brackets Deep East Music. And when you use the site for some time, you get used to those snippets here. So there are more snippets like this. And then instead of opening the advanced search, you could just type in that snippet. For example, lyrics. Was it lyric? Don't remember. For example, the track title. And then you can just add the track title here, and you see here this changed. And then instead of going to the advanced search, you can just do everything with that code snippets there.
Yeah, that's also something we learned, that they were using the keywords very much just to finish the work, to search the results. So you're always faster using your keyboard instead of a mouse.
Yeah, so we added also some keyboard shortcuts. Just here.
The best.
Piano. Let's take some piano. So what you can do is you can just use your arrow keys to cycle through the track, or just go to the next track there. So also really helpful there. So when you have all your tracks in your playlist, for example, let's take the Christmas playlist. Then you have the share button. You copy the link to the clipboard, and then you can share that with your colleagues or clients. Okay. So I think we have 20 minutes left. We could also talk a little bit about our design and colors, but maybe there are also some questions. So maybe we start with some questions, and maybe if there's something related to the colors, we could still show it. All right.
So if you have any questions from LinkedIn, please post them to the chat and we'll bring them in. Actually, we're staying now with search, which is quite complex. So I'm wondering, like, on the basic, just to give an idea to people, how long did it take to program actually the search? So AI programming, let's say, for keywords, for the.
It's really hard to say, because we had that iterative process with the Mona Lisa, and we are still working on the search. So it's not that we we finished the search already, because we are still building features. And if someone has an idea or a client has an idea, we think about adding that. So it's hard to say.
Yeah, and what was really crazy was those numbers of combinations you searched. So at one point you really get crazy in the logic, and you have to find solutions on the back end and also for the UI, and that was really crazy to get this all together for the user.
Yeah, and also performance. Performance was also a big thing on the search, because we have this endless scrolling, and new tracks are getting loaded all the time. So you don't need to work on pages. And maybe you saw that, but for example, the waveforms, they disappear sometimes when you scroll them out of view, and then they get loaded again when you scroll up again. And we just try to minimize the amount of cache to keep the site performant.
I'm still wondering about people and the search. So I guess there's different mind models that you put into the search options, because there's different ways that you can approach search, right? You can go by tags, you can go by music characteristics, and I'm wondering how you researched that. So how did you structure these different approaches to search?
So I think most of that we learned from the user testings, because we always did interviews at the beginning. So we most of the time tested for 1 hour, and we, especially at the beginning, at the discovery phase, half of the time we just talked to the people and they explained how they search, what they need, and then when we showed the prototype, they were saying, oh, this is missing, I need a length filter and a tempo filter and the musical key like C#. We also need a filter for that. And
we also had a lot of data, so to say. We already knew from the old system how people were searching, where they're looking for, even spelling mistakes, or so we try to find combinations and synonyms, and on base of that that data, we were also it was also possible to prioritize. So in terms of the order of the keyword suggestions, we definitely knew what the people look for.
And also we had those 3 different sites, and they were not all the same. So on some sites there were filters which were not on the other sides, or things behave differently. And then you tell the one team which worked on their site for 5 to 10 years, okay, we now do it differently, like on the other side. So that was also not so easy to find the common ground there.
How did you prioritize what you put there? And adding to that, is there something novel that you brought in through your research, that you found a new, let's say, mental model, a new path to search that wasn't there before?
I think it's the suggestions. I think that's actually something we haven't seen on any other production music site before, because we just learned people are missing words. They don't know what to type into the search, especially for the users that don't spend so much time on the site. And we try to implement some models that are really intuitive. Like you just type in something and then you get something which is related to that. So also like the similar search. This is super intuitive, and I really love that, because you just have a track and then you can get similar tracks. Like I think we once called it every track has siblings. So
yeah, and that was also a client brief. For example, I want this track that sounds like James Bond, and yeah, maybe you can enter James Bond. There were maybe also license problems in terms of that. But how do you describe to search for the right track?
So there's probably a lot of work also going into the semantics. How do you categorize music? I wonder, just to finish up with search, is there any data that you have now what people use most? Is there like one golden way?
So the music matcher is super popular. So people just love working with the music matcher.
They just drag and drop, yeah, YouTube, Spotify,
SoundCloud. I think TikTok will also be possible in the future. So just where you listen music in your private life as well.
Probably depends also on the people who are using the site, right? If they're nerds and people working with music all day, then they have tracks in their head and they just go like, oh yeah, I would like to use this. There's actually one suggestion or question from the audience, from Sonali Sood, and I guess by the name that probably it's from India. And she writes that she doesn't find an option for other languages in the music selection. She went to the site and she says, if you're going global, then you should also add other languages to the site.
So I can explain that, because we have these 3 sites we need to replace, and we are now on the last site. We replaced the site in the APAC region, Asia Pacific, and then the next one was the United States, and those sites had no language feature, and we just started with the least amount of features there. But now, as we are approaching the European market, the language switch is one of the features we will need to build to do the launch. And we also decided to not only have, for the region you selected, to have certain languages, but to have all the languages for all the regions. So in the future, you can just go to the site from everywhere in the world, get the tracks which are available in your region, and you can select every language we support.
So that's probably another complexity when you go into the AI tracking according to the semantics in different languages. That will be a huge task. So Sonali, if please have some patience, and the site will be up also in other languages as well. There's also another question, I'll bring it in right now, from Samrudi, an UX UI designer at Capital One. She asked whether you consider a UI question going for responsive layouts or mobile, or is it a conscious decision not to?
Yeah, still a missing feature. We would love to design it. A lot of ideas are already there.
So currently we only have a desktop layout, because 99% of the people are opening the website on the desktop PC, because it's a working application. It's like Photoshop or Figma. But of course, there are people who get a playlist maybe on the train and want to listen to the tracks. And what we did, we scaled down the size of all the elements a little bit, so they fit better on the mobile screen. And also some components like the player or the navigation we adapted to mobile, but all the rest we just scaled down, because it would be a lot of time to build that. And we will just focusing on the key areas where you will interact on mobile, and do all the rest on desktop and focus on the features there.
Yeah, because of maybe that also makes sense in the future, because in the demo we the last task was to share a playlist, but of course you could imagine to bring different people together working on same playlist, community features and so on. And of course it makes sense to have this also on your mobile device and just hear the playlist your colleague and friend sent you to. So all those things, maybe they will come.
It's a question of priority.
Yeah. Yeah, so of course, and that relates to the task and to the workflow. So basically, probably on mobile, you wouldn't be able to put in so much detail, so much elements of a workflow, but according, as you said, to a different need, then a mobile version with different functions or less functions would be useful. Before we go to the visual part, visual design, as you suggested, there's a last question from Anais Pobozelski. She's a web designer, and she asked actually about the process. As you said, you rolled out a beta version for testing for internal users. Whether you would generally recommend to launch a first version to a few users and keep your old version for others, why it's not totally implemented to test? Could you generalize this?
I think it depends. Bad answer, I know. But I think in this case, it made a lot of sense because it was an application. But when you do just a website, which is more content focused, then it might make not too much sense. But it's actually also a great way to test whether your migration worked, whether the connection to the database was working. Yeah, test as often as possible and as early as possible. I think that's our mantra.
Yeah, that really is a mantra. Fail early, fail safe, try again. And there was actually thanks for laying out this structure, how you worked in a very concise and clear way. It was very insightful.
And also tell a fun story about user testing we had, because we had someone who thought about the task on user testing was to add a track to a playlist, and this person thought, okay, I don't find a button, let's try a drag and drop. And then this person just grabbed the cover, moved to the side, and then a browser plugin appeared, which has nothing to do with our site. And this person just dropped it inside the browser plugin, some window opened from the plugin, and the person just kept on talking and thought, okay, this is part of the website, what could that be? And explained the thoughts. And
we didn't stop him, huh?
We didn't stop the person, just kept him talking. And this brought us to the idea, okay, why not explore drag and drop a little bit more? So it was also...
So this goes to say, just watch and listen, don't talk, don't ask, and let people experiment. And it's very hard sometimes not to interrupt, I guess. Actually, if we're talking about this, I'm keen to know about the user research methods that you used. You mentioned personas, but obviously that was probably only one, and it depends which phase of the project you were in. Can you tell us a little bit more about the methods you used?
So at the beginning, it was a lot of interviews. So we just called all our friends, and everyone was closely related to music. So we also talked to some composers, and just did a lot of interviews. And then
this time Spotify also came up, and of course we had a lot of ideas also from Spotify, which was pretty new.
Did competitor research, because there are, of course, it's not only BMG out there who does production music. We did a lot of research there as well, and checked out their sites.
We stalked clients because we got a client list, and we tried to get in contact with them and try to get as much information as possible. Sometimes we didn't receive an answer, but there were some good insights on that as well.
And then also when we had the beta site, we used Hotjar with the feedback mechanism there, where people just could write in their feedback, and we also had heat maps there, and also could I think Hotjar also has a feature where you can watch what people do on the site, so recording of that, of course anonymized, but then you can see where they click and where the mouse is moving, and that was also really helpful.
So would you like to show us a little bit more on the visual design? I mean, we have a few minutes left. It was your suggestion, or we can keep on going. And you people out there, if you have questions, then let them come in through the chat.
Sure. So.
Yeah, so we just want to talk about some of the design decisions. Chris, already mentioned space, the issue of space. So, for example, we used the collapsible sidebar, for example, the sticky search bar, the responsive behavior of the playlist, and some small improvements on the player to have a responsive track widget and some things. But one of the things you already saw is that we of course decided to build our application in dark mode, and of course we know that for example text is better, is more readable with a dark text on a light background. But we also have learned that people spend sometimes hours in the app, and so we tried to make this application as comfortable as possible in reading and staying. So all the background illumination we try to reduce, and that's maybe also something we can show how we dealt with colors on dark sides and also text. And of course, this is a matter of text and readability, because the brand also is very bold, very big. It has italic headlines in uppercase, which is hard to read. But for headlines it works. But we also used smaller texts. And we can show that later on. You can see that in the presentation as well, that we didn't use shades of gray to display softer text, but we reduced opacity. And because we work with a lot of different layers, background, images, and we needed to have those small, thinny texts being readable. But on the other hand, we also wanted to have all that nice colors in the background being represented in the text as well.
So we learned a lot about dark mode here. So so we for example, what you just mentioned with the gray text, for example, here, this is not a gray text. This is a white text with 55% opacity, because then you still see something of that purple background there. We also learned that especially the small text here is really hard to read on the dark background. This is why we increased the letter spacing here, because with white text on dark background, you have a glow effect, and then it's harder to read the text. And this is why we increased letter spacing. When you have a closer look, you also see that we actually don't use pure black or pure white on the side. So our colors for text is just an off-white and an off-black for the background. Because it's a little bit less contrast, but in that case, it's actually helpful to have that that lower contrast because of the glow effect. But we also had we also focused a lot about on accessibility, and there you need a certain contrast. This is why we just, for example, took the brand colors from the old style guide, which was more focused on print design, and actually did variations of that. So we have just some color tones here for very dark backgrounds, for medium backgrounds and light backgrounds, and then also created some rules what text you can use on what background to have that minimum contrast there, so everyone, no matter what vision they have, can read all the text there.
Yeah, we also, you can say we reworked the brand colors, and they also used some gradients, and we liked the brand appearance very much, but of course yeah, when you go to their website, it's very loud and shining and bold, and we could just have some examples of how to use color. Yeah, BMG has a strong and very loud corporate design. On the one hand, in the application, there are a lot of loud parts. Like if you use the search, you are there. This is very we're very busy, but on the same hand, you need some calm areas. And in these areas, we decided to have very subtle elements. For example, backgrounds in the gradient background, but also used gradients, for example, in the UI elements. You enter a search, or here these small
sliders, text fields, the switches, and we most of the time use the color for focus. So maybe you can just switch back to the application. So for example, here, when you click into the search becomes colorful, but when you scroll down or click outside, then you don't want to focus on the search anymore. Then we focus on the currently playing track. So try to use those colors and gradients to create the focus.
Yeah, and of course we were using the colors also for just being playful and wanted to have fun in your daily work. So color, of course, is a very good element to work with, and I think that's what we did in this application. And
in the end, it's a tool, and tools are often boring, but music is really fun, and we try to combine that and make a fun looking and feeling application there.
And in the end, it's also about user experience, usability, and UI. So you need to introduce a structure and an information structure and hierarchy. So maybe you can tell us a little bit more about this very briefly, because there's so many different elements. And there's actually also a question from Xiaoni, who is a visual designer. So what is the information architecture, and how did you define this in this project? But maybe first the visual elements, and how did you structure a hierarchy in the visual UI?
So we also played a little bit with the opacities there and bring the important elements, for example, like the track title or the waveform in the focus, because those are the most important elements. And then for example, for the album name, we used then a darker shade of white and created some hierarchy there. Again, we played a lot with those focus modes, for example, the search bar, which is always at the top on every page, but most of the time it's just small. But when you click on it, it becomes larger, and then you see the suggestions. And I think one of the design principles we had there was we would like to keep the app as simple looking as possible, because of all the information there. It's so much information, so many keywords and important information there. And we also try to make that contextual, only when you need it. You don't need to see the suggestions all the time, only when you want to search something. You don't need to have all the crazy filters. You can access them in the advanced search and expand that.
But we also had to fight for that, because it was some people wanted to have this feature in that area and the other way around, and we try to really separate those categories, and also which elements are sticky and always visible. That's always the question, and people love or project owner love to have everything sticky in your face, and you have to raise your arm and say,
I think the best thing you can do there when you have so many features to look on the data, what is really used, and put that into the first view there and hide everything else.
So also to not just to argument from your opinion, but based on data with the client to get this, your point of view across and certain decisions made.
Sorry, I did not get that. Sorry.
So it's also about arguing from data and research findings to get your decision across, right?
You should always do that, yeah.
Well, actually, I was wondering, because you said there were 2 development tracks, there were many back and forths, then there was a beta version, and there was constant feed-in of different information on different levels. And how did you actually structure the information flow and in the whole process? Was there some framework that you came up with?
I think it was actually, we changed the process sometimes. For example, we don't do the weekly user testings anymore at the moment. And I think we questioned that process again and again and try to find what matches with the current team members, because I think the project is now 3 years, and there's of course some fluctuation, and some people change projects, and you need to find a way that works with the current team setup. And this is just sometimes a session where you just have 2 people in a Teams call, sharing their screen and talk about something. But sometimes you need a bigger a tool like the user story mapping, for example. And I would not say that we have this master plan. It's just reacting to the change that appears, and not sticking too much to a certain framework or something which maybe worked in the past or people are used to, but to again, like agile, you adapt to what happens and try to find the best way for that moment. Yeah.
There's actually an interesting question from Carlos Silva, and he asked, did you have any experience in the music industry when working on that project? Or maybe is it even better not to have?
So I had no experience on that.
But I remember you have you talked about a friend, and he was using this crazy sound program with some layers and effects. So I remember that, but no real music background in the end, huh?
So you definitely need to talk to people who are experts.
Yeah.
So for example, we had a lot of discussions about the musical key filter. So like A major or
B minus,
B minor, and so on. And we did not know the correct keys for the filters, and then we had to talk to people. Okay, give me a list of all the keys, and then people send you different lists, and then you need to find out what is the real one. So it definitely helps if you have some basic knowledge, and it also helps to just look around. So what Stefan just mentioned is, I was at a party and there was a DJ, and I had a look on the DJ software because there were also some waveforms, and then I saw, okay, it's not just a single color waveform, it has different colors. And then I asked the DJ, what is that? And then he said, okay, blue is for bass and red is for treble. And then you have a different level of detail in the waveform.
And that's also something we brought in, because we didn't show that, but most of the tracks, they are split up in versions, different versions, and also stems, also a word I didn't know before. But this stems is splitted in different instruments or vocals. You can just switch them off and play around directly in the application, and that's also, I think, a thing we. Yeah, very related to DJing and sound mixing.
Yeah.
Right. So it's of course observing, learning, working with experts. You don't have to be an expert yourself, but you need to structuralize, and of course you need to be able to get the key points out and translate them into into a product and a workflow. There's other questions as well, but Shawnee and all others, why don't you just drop them via LinkedIn to both speakers, because there's not so much time to talk about everything, but I mean, like, just to sum it up, what are you most proud about in this project? So, is there one thing, or maybe there's not one thing?
So I think it's more the principle that we tried to fight for all the time, to keep it as simple as possible. So first-time user can just go to the site and work with that site, but also the professional user can open some drop-downs and expand more stuff, which is not cluttering the initial user interface. So when you play around a little bit on the site, then you find a lot of hidden features, which are very contextual. You can access all of them, but the basic look we try to keep as clean as possible, and I think we achieved that.
Anything that surprised you the most from user feedback when it was launched?
Also fun little story, the length filter. We have a length filter where you can set a maximum length and a minimum length. And I think someone said, we don't need to test that. This is so basic. And then we showed that to people, and they all said, okay, this is maximum on the right side, but what is that on the left side? What could that be? Maybe when I move that to 30 seconds, and then when I play tracks, I can skip the first 30 seconds. And they just did not get that the left is the minimum length, and this is why we put those small labels, min and max, above that. And then on the next user testing, we tested that again, and then people understood that. And this just shows again how important it is to test every single small detail.
Small details.
Yeah.
So just to sum it up, what's next for the product?
The European launches. So we are currently working on those and adding more and more features on all different regions. And I think a big feature group which is coming is collaboration, because a lot of people want to work together on a playlist. Yeah. And we want to make that possible, that you can just invite someone to a playlist, like you invite someone to a Figma file or to a Miro board, and then just you can both add tracks there. You can maybe do votings on the tracks, what track you like most, and then decide together what the perfect track is.
Right. Stefan and Kilian, thank you so much for all the insights and presentation. I think we didn't even scratch the surface of what you could share with us. It's awesome. We should schedule another event, or maybe even an academy session with both of you. It was such a pleasure, and good luck for the continuation. There will be more to come, I guess.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you. So I would say put all your questions on LinkedIn, and we will answer them.
Please do, and we'll forward them to the both of the speakers. Thanks so everybody for joining. Just a very short note: if you missed anything, the recording of the talk will be online on LinkedIn right away and edited in 1 or 2 days on our website, and also the presentation that our speakers will share. If you have time, you're interested to see more, join us for our next events. The next one will be a talent track on November 30th with the new talent winner, Max Seger, and his project Jewels of the Sea. It's an interactive installation on diatoms, very strange small creatures. And the next deep dive actually will be in December, on December 14th, with the product award winners from Thailand, the Kazikon Group, and Make by K-Bank, which is an exciting mobile banking solution that humanizes personal finance. So there's a lot coming up. Stay up to date through LinkedIn and our social media. Have a look at our website if you wish to. And of course, check out all the award entries. And if you're working on UX design, also the running call for the next awards. We would be very happy to welcome you again, both as participants, viewers, our audience. Until then, stay well. Have a lovely day, morning or evening, wherever you are in the world, and see you soon again. Bye-bye. Bye.